Joining me now with a story of bravery and medical triumph are members from our community. Welcome Meredith and Sarah to share more about how you can register to save a life just like Meredith. Thanks so much for coming in today, you two. So I'm going to start with you, Meredith, and Mom Sarah, if you want to jump in, but I want to hear a little bit about your story and what you were going through.
Well, I showed up to school on November 4th, and I got to second period, and a friend told me that I looked yellow, so I called my mom, because she's a nurse, and so she went and she took me to the pediatrician, because we're like, oh, it's probably viral, just a little infection. We get there, they have me do labs and a liver ultrasound, and they're like, oh, we'll call you in 2 days with the results. And 2 hours later, we get a call that I need to go to Children's in Buffalo, because my bilirubin is 11.9.
And what is a normal?
Less than 1. Bilirubin should be less than 1.
And by the way, before you got this call, you're a great student, a star athlete, a great swimmer, right, Mom? Right. That you're breaking records in New York State. Everything was fine up until one person noticed something off with you, and thank goodness you called your mom, and Mom, you jumped into action right away, and they got you to Children's Hospital. You guys only had about 5 minutes to pack a bag, but, you know, going straight to the hospital because you figured you'd be there overnight at least, right? Right. Yeah. And then what happened after that?
They did some tests on her gallbladder. They thought it was probably a gallbladder blockage, something. And the results came back, and they very calmly came in the room and said, it's not her gallbladder. We're going to transfer her to Pittsburgh in case she needs a liver transplant. And I said, what? I said, she was just swimming in the pool 12 hours ago when you called me to tell me to take her to the hospital. So there were a lot of things that had to click into place, and that night, in the middle of the night, she was transported by ambulance to UPMC Children's. Lasted about 30 minutes on their regular pediatric floor before they took her to the ICU because she was going downhill quite quickly and becoming more and more yellow as her bilirubin, by the time we got to Children's in Buffalo, her bilirubin was 20, when that afternoon it had been 11.9.
Wow.
Hepatology saw her, and they immediately started the process that she might need a liver transplant. And her liver numbers kept climbing. They were doing plasmapheresis. She got over 160 units of blood products, filtering out her blood that was not being helped by her liver and putting in fresh plasma. Every day. Every day, at least 20 units. And it was buying her time, basically, but her liver numbers were never getting any better. So we got to UPMC on November 6th. On November 9th, she was listed 1A, which is the very top of the transplant list. Wow. And on the 13th, we found out that there was a donor. And she had her transplant the 15th. In the meantime, UPMC had asked us to look for living donors, somebody that would match her. Right. So I had posted on social media a link where people could try to become her saving grace. Right. And by the grace of God, over 600 people applied to be her living donor. Wow. And, everybody wanted to help in any way they could. And if they couldn't do that, people were praying and sending support. And we felt an incredible amount of love for our girl at the absolute worst time of our lives.
And for you, Sarah, as her mother, I mean, you have the star student, a star athlete, and within hours, everything completely changed. What was going through your mind?
I was living minute by minute because I couldn't believe what was happening. And even when I would open my eyes, I would think, oh my gosh, I cannot believe we're really here, that this is really happening. Unbelievable. Yeah.
Tell us more about the treatment center in Pittsburgh where Meredith was taken and the care of how they looked after her.
She spent most of her first days before the transplant, after the transplant, in the PICU, the Pediatric Intensive Care Unit.
They're wonderful.
They're wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Everyone could not give her any more attention and any more love, whether it was the person cleaning the room or it was the top attending. And every day they started with like an interdisciplinary rounds where everyone, the hepatology team, the transplant team, the ICU team, social work, pharmacy, everyone came in to talk about Meredith. They fielded every question I had. No question was too little or too silly, and I was made to feel a very important part of her team, and they let me know going forward every step they were doing. Some days she was pretty confused or pretty sleepy, and they would always come in and talk directly to her, making her feel like she was part of the team as well.
Amazing.
I can't say enough about the PICU or the 7B transplant floor where she went for her follow-up care
Okay.
You know.
And let's talk about how the Ronald McDonald House stepped in to support Meredith's recovery as well.
When we first arrived, our wonderful social worker, Louisa, said, you have to contact Ronald McDonald because you're going to be here. You're going to be here a bit.
Yeah.
So I filled out the online application, and within a couple days, we were given an apartment. And Ronald McDonald House is actually connected to UPMC, so we didn't even have to go outside.
Amazing.
And we had a bedroom, a bathroom, a kitchen, a living room. It was everything we needed for what we needed when we weren't right at her bedside. And even after she was discharged, Meredith came to live there with us, and just tremendous support, especially at Christmas time. There was at least a meal provided every day. It was just one less thing to worry about.
Yeah.
While we were in
Going
the
through-
recovery phase.
Yeah. And Meredith, how are you feeling now?
I'm feeling so much better. It's not even funny.
Yeah. Are you back to swimming yet?
I am back to swimming. I went back a couple times at the JCC in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
First time was a little strange, I won't
Yeah.
lie. But now it feels almost normal. Just pulls a little bit.
Yeah.
And she's swimming with her swim team here.
That's incredible. And you just got back to Buffalo, right? How long ago?
Last Wednesday.
That's what
Last Wednesday, and she's right back. So everything happened so quickly. But considering all that you went through and how dangerous and how different the situation could have turned out if you didn't have that transplant, what would you say to people considering becoming liver donors, and how can they register?
I was someone that, I've been a nurse for 25 years, and I never thought I would need a transplant or know someone in my family that would need a transplant. And knowing how critical she got so fast, it was just an absolute answered prayer. And I can't imagine the family on the other end that had to make that call, but we will be eternally grateful for them. So if you are able to become an organ donor or even donate blood, I know Pittsburgh's site is at UPMC. You can look up how to be a living donor. They do kidneys, they do livers. There's so much that you can do. And that family has truly given her life back. They've given us our girl back, and she's going to make a difference in this world because they chose to make a difference with organ donation. So
Absolutely. Well, we are so grateful that you are here, happy and healthy. We know that you've got more records to break and a long life ahead of you. And viewers, if you would like to learn more about the transplant process and register to become a living donor, just visit upmc.com and find that transplant tab. Thank you both so much for coming in and sharing your
Thank you.
story.